Ebro in the morning. We got Rosenberg on assignment. He's at ESPN Bristol, Connecticut. We got Laura Stiles here, and we have Dr. Steve Perry with us right now. Give it up for Dr. Steve Perry, or just Dr. Perry. What do you prefer?
It's whatever, man.
Because I hear Dr. Perry all the time.
Dr. Perry's cool. Dr. Dre they call him doctor, right?
Yeah. Facts.
Right. I respect his doctorate because it seems to be worth a lot more than mine right now.
I saw you on CNN, had to be 5 or 6 years ago, covering your school.
In Hartford.
Yeah, in Hartford.
You got a great memory, man.
Capital Prep.
Yeah, you got a great memory,
Well,
man.
I have notes, too.
Oh, there's always that.
And we're going to get into your collaboration, or I don't know how to term it.
Partnership?
No, it's a partnership, yeah.
With Diddy and Harlem that's going to be opening this fall.
It's
the first class.
It is.
And we'll get into that in a second. But you being in education and just being active and dealing with young adults, I want to start for the audience, people listening and viewing. Education in America is something, and public education, let's be specific, is something that a lot of people have lost faith in. Public education here in New York City is damn near an embarrassment.
It is.
And and I'm sure the similar things for Black and brown children and low-income children around the country.
Every single place that there are Black, brown, and poor children, the story is exactly the same.
Underfunded.
Not underfunded.
Not underfunded.
Nah.
So it's not a money issue.
Oh, it's not the money. In fact, if money were the issue, then we should send every kid to prison because that's where we spend the most amount of money on those kids.
Wow. So what is the issue?
The issue is under expectations. The lower expectations of the individuals who are working in those schools guide what happens to the children. I mean, this is the data, right? This is what the data is very clear. There was a study out of California that talked about how a faculty member was told that all the children were gifted. So like you were talking to Styles, right? We were saying that when you believe that certain children cannot learn, you treat them as such. The reason why we started our first school was not because of some work that I was doing in the quote-unquote hood. It was actually some work that I was doing in the suburbs. A suburb in Connecticut called Windsor, Connecticut. And you should know nothing about that except for the fact that at one point it was named the second wealthiest Black suburb in America. And one would think, given that, you should be able to see some level of parity within the school. But I could still find the highest classes by looking for the most amount of white kids in the class, which is bananas.
Highest grade, you mean?
Highest expectations, meaning the highest, like AP courses.
Got it.
We're disproportionately white. If 60% of the school is minority, then 60% of the classes should be minority. So that should include the AP classes. But in fact, it wasn't the case. So I was like, this is bananas. Why is this happening? And so I asked people, right? Because I don't know. I asked one person, there was this class called extended algebra. Like, what is that? It's 3 semesters of algebra. Who likes algebra so much that you want to do it another semester? Come to find out, all the kids that I was working with who were Black, Latino, and poor were the ones who were ending up in extended algebra. And I asked them, what test did they fail? And no one could tell me. And I thought, man, we could open a school and be at least as terrible as these cats. But what if we're right? What if our belief in our children is such that if we put them in a school that's designed the same way as these wealthy white schools are, and with the same expectations as the wealthy white schools have, what if we put kids who just grind in those schools? What would happen? Well, 100% of our graduates have gone on 4-year colleges since we started in 2005.
And that's all just based on expectation.
It is.
Treating them like we have high expectations of you. Here's what we expect. Day in and day out, we're going to be focused. And if you're here with us, this is how you operate.
Right. We designed schools based upon what we saw that worked. You know, you went to a school where they had an extended day, an extended year, high expectations.
So what was that, Laura?
I was talking to him about how I went to what you call a track school. So we had track A, B, and C. Track A was all the gifted magnet students were there. Track B was all like the ESL students. And the C track was like the neighborhood kids. See, I was from the neighborhood.
When you say neighborhood kids, what do you mean?
basically everybody was in gangs and
That's where you was in.
Yeah.
C-track.
No, I was in A-track. I was in A-track.
We know.
But all my neighbors and everybody from, because I came from that same exact neighborhood, except I tested well and I was on A-track. But all my neighbors, and this is where I saw the difference in the classes and the expectations, because I had a completely different, my teachers were different, the way we were treated were different. The kids in my neighborhood, the teachers didn't care anything about them, whether they came to school or they had different rules. It was just,
and this is
so
an open
blatant.
secret. This is an open secret.
So blatant.
Everyone knows this. And when I speak on this and say, you do know that that's wrong, right? Like, you can't do that. Aside from it being immoral, it's actually illegal. You can't treat people based upon their zip code differently. In 1954, it was very clear, Brown versus Board of Education, that separate but equal is not equal, and you therefore can't do it.
Right.
Even Dr. King, in his final book, Where Do We Go From Here? Community Chaos, in his final chapter, talked about taking kids up out of the hood and putting them in what he called educational parks. Dr. King was talking about that in 1968. He said, don't wait to integrate the neighborhoods. He said, send them to schools. The catchphrase then was integration, because the belief was if you put a kid of color in a school with white people, that would be all you needed to do. Well, we've since learned that
wasn't quite that simple.
Really, it ain't that simple, because then they do some foolishness like ABC tracks, and you back where you started. So you have one building with different expectations. All we've done is take the same expectations. I tell you what I did, bro. I went to visit some of these wealthy white prep schools. I grew up in poverty. My father was in prison by the time I was going into college. I was born on my 16th birthday. Same narrative, a lot of people, right? So I believed on some level that some people were just born smart. And many of the people who were born smart were white and wealthy. The more money you had, the whiter you were, the smarter you were. I grew up believing that. And I believe that when I was doing well in school, I was just beating the system. I was just hustling them. Like, I was just figured out. I just, cracked the code, right?
That's what I always thought.
It really?
I always thought that my success in school was all a hustle. Like, I just had figured out how to move around right.
There was the point at which I started wearing a tie to class because a professor told me, that's a nice tie. Every day I wore a tie. It was me
and you's the same guy.
It's as simple.
You wore a tie too?
No, I didn't wear a tie, but I participated in class
How about
and made
that?
sure I knew the information, so the teacher saw me and saw that I was actively participating in learning.
We thought that
way if I
that
missed a
was
couple of assignments.
So, but listen, we thought that was a hustle. We thought that was a hustle. But then I went to visit some of these wealthy white elite private schools, and you know what? They were teaching them that it wasn't a hustle. It was actually learning strategies. They would teach them.
And these are life strategies.
They were the same thing. So the things that I had figured out, not because I was brilliant, but because I was out of options, because where was I going? I knew that I couldn't hustle, like the real hustle, because that just wasn't for me. Standing outside in the cold in Connecticut, it just wasn't the answer. Wait for somebody to come up, a pager to come up and be like, yo, no, it just wasn't for me.
Yeah.
That's not, cold is not my color.
So are we saying that even the kids who are more challenged in learning, right? Because everybody does things well. Some people are better at math. Some people are better at retaining information through reading. Some people are better at retaining through writing, through speaking. Everybody has their way that they retain information and learn. Are we saying that basically everyone is equal if put into equal environments?
The greatest challenge that most of our kids face is self-esteem. When you know you're nice at something, you walk around like you're nice. Like last night, I was at my son's basketball game. He's not nice at this. Like, he's not. He knows he's not.
Facts.
It's
you say it based on facts.
But he skipped a grade.
Yeah.
Right? You can't have it all.
Yeah.
So he's tall. He's probably going to be tall for nothing.
Yeah.
That's all right.
That's fine.
But he's, what he's good at, he knows he's good at. So we're out there, and you see these little water bug boys running around, dribbling, doing things behind their back. They feel they feel good about themselves.
Yeah.
And you can see it. Like, they're dressed like they know how to play.
Yeah.
Right? That confidence comes through. And so they'll jack shots from all over. They're outside in the parking lot shooting into the gym, right? They don't care. It's the same thing in the classroom. When your heart has been broken so many times because you don't feel like you know what's going on.
Or you could tell that your teachers and the faculty don't care about you.
Yeah, or believe in you.
That's real. I worked in a Philadelphia school called Strawberry Mansion. And when I was there, Strawberry Mansion was wild. So it was wild. Like,
all the time, nonstop.
They told, how about this? I was a social work intern, And there was this white woman who used to give me a ride. She was also in my social work school, so she would give me a ride to school because she would come by. She had a car. I didn't. Shocker. So her name is Tracy. I would say, Tracy, I just want to let you know, if bullets start flying, they don't want witnesses. Don't take this personally. I'm out. You should be too.
Yeah,
like
facts.
I don't think that having me with you is a card.
Right.
We're both in trouble.
Yeah.
And they would tell, like they would have closed basketball games there, like no fans. Immediately
Just because it was so violent.
I'm telling you, no fans, no one but the basketball. This is a varsity game, just the fans, just coaches and fans. I mean, just coaches and ball players. Anyway, so in that school where so little education seemed to be going on, there was a young man who was in one of my groups, a social worker there. He was in one of my groups. And I just come out of teacher's lounge and they were ripping kids. I mean, stuff they were saying to kids, I was like,
is this because of their own frustration, or they felt like this was the best way to
I've never spoken about a kid like that.
Because you definitely see on the internet these days, the campus officer put his hands on the little girl, yanked her out of the desk.
How about that?
You see there was another video of another campus officer.
Yeah, slap the kid.
You could run it. You could run it.
Yeah.
So I don't know why people talk about people's kids like that. Kids can be aggravating, but they're kids, right? So you just shake it off. Otherwise, don't do it. Right? If he hurt you like that, then you shouldn't be in this space. Anyway, so this kid said to me, I come out of teacher's lounge, I walked across the hall, I sit down in my family group, and this kid could not read the word stop. He was 14 years old. He could not read the word stop. I know because I was thinking I was so smart. I was like, man, you could read. Man, come on. I said, you could read this word. And I wrote stop down because who doesn't know the word stop? And he's like, stop. Wow, that's bad. So this young man said to me in family group, his hand goes up. He says, Mr. Steve, how can they teach us if they don't like us? Ripped through my soul because I felt like, wow, he's paying attention. Just because he can't read doesn't mean...
That's innate. Like the ability to feel.
Right.
Right? That's something that you're just born. You can feel when, I have a 2-year-old. She can feel without anybody saying anything that she's done something wrong just by the looks that she's getting in the house.
They have instinct. They don't have wisdom. They have instinct. And when you talked about folks not caring, kids know. Go through every single school. Kids know who's ride or die. They know it. You can't tell them nothing. They know who in there. And it's not about who gives them more or less homework. It's about who they know is real. Who knows the words to the song. Who listened to y'all in the morning, came in. That's not what. It could be a person who doesn't know a Hot 97 from from whatever. But they see this woman. She could be the whitest, oldest, most suburban.
She's got my back though. She loves us.
So they know that she's about that life. Meanwhile, somebody comes in, they look the part, they're running, they know the words, they, tat it up, whatever. They seem like they're from that place. And the kid's like, man, please.
Fake.
Get out of my face.
Fake.
Kids know what's going on, and we're not listening to them because they're telling us all the time. They say it all the time. Every single teacher I fired, every single one, they came to me not because one of the grown people said, man, you got to do something about this, man. I'm hearing stuff next door I shouldn't hear. There was a thin blue line, man. Nobody said anything. It was the kids coming up to me saying, Dr. Perry, you need to vote them off the island, man. This is not right what they're doing. And it wasn't that they were doing something so egregious necessarily, but when you set the expectation in the school, you tell them, look, I love you enough to expect that you're going to get what my kids get. My sons go to one of our schools. I wouldn't do it any other way. I mean, who doesn't eat where they cook? That's not cool.
Right.
So in this space, brothers like you and sisters like you, you're not often engaged or pulled in because it's inconvenient to have you guys in there because you have real questions. You want to know, but why can't they read? Right. I mean, they spend all day in school. They can't just be broken. I mean, aren't you certified to teach people how to read? Yeah, that's what I'm here to do. Okay, can you explain to me why then they don't know how to read? If you're certified, meaning you have an education in this, you've passed certain tests in it, you have certain experience in this, why can't you teach this child to read?
Now, is the climate such that teachers now to keep their jobs, because we can go back to No Child Left Behind, right? That was a George W. Bush thing.
Yeah.
And I remember that being a major crossroads in public education, where it felt like, and I didn't quite understand it at the time, I didn't know where it was going, but what it felt like was your school would be rewarded or not based on its performance.
Right.
Was that the kind of...
Yeah, that's so, here's what happened.
So that held teachers accountable for
everybody.
performance.
Lunch staff, everybody. So one of the things that happened is Kanye killed George Bush. I mean, he did. His credibility.
George Bush don't like black people.
Period.
That was during Hurricane Katrina.
And so I'm not saying he shouldn't. I'm not saying it wasn't relevant to what he was talking about. But unfortunately, what happened was one of the most important legislative efforts in American history, especially for people of color, has been overlooked and maligned. And the teachers union have jumped all over this because in the beginning they were for it. They were the ones who were saying, we don't want a principal just coming in and capriciously, or meaning without thought, just coming in and evaluating one of our staff. So we want objective standards. Okay, we want something that is the same for everybody, meaning I don't want to be judged differently because you don't like me. Okay, cool. We got an objective standard for you. You take a test, you take a test, you take a test. Oh. And then the results started to come in. And the results told the truth.
Which was?
Kids can't read, write, and compute on grade level, especially in urban communities. And it's by race. In America, race still matters. It's not economics. In fact, the argument all along has been, well, it's economics, it's poverty, it's poverty. Well, then why are white kids who are poor beating black kids who are middle and upper middle class? If it's poverty. Because middle class blacks have more money than poor whites. So this testing that so many people have said is such a problem is only a problem if you lose your job behind it. You know, look, my wife bought a scale not too long ago, and I stood on it, and it had the wrong numbers. I figured it must be broken because I know how much I weigh, and this thing it must be lying. Throw this joint out the window. When the fact is the scale said what the scale said. Scale doesn't ask me if it likes my suit, doesn't ask me if it likes my hair. It's just telling me how much I weigh.
That's right.
And these assessments, is what they refer to them as, are telling the truth. 75% of the students in New York City, it keeps being reported, when they graduate, are not college ready. What the hell else are they gonna be ready for? If you send them to college track, because some of those A kids that you went to school with left not college ready.
Yeah.
So how foolish is that? 75% of this city, that's a lot of people's kids.
It's a lot.
Who sent them to school 187 days, woke them up, fussed with them, made them wash their behinds, get ready to go to school, sat down with them, made them do homework. All parents are not bad parents. I mean, they did what they knew how to do.
So I'm trying to, through this conversation, this dialogue, I'm trying to pinpoint if the public school system is not working for black and brown kids, what needs to change?
Needs to be a catastrophic change. The first change is we need to stop looking at it as an employment program for adults and look at it for a career builder for children. The problem is
and you're saying, and this is, I've always been told this, my father told me this, he was like, look, public school is to train you to be on time and get in line and memorize things. It doesn't train you to be wise. It doesn't train you to be intellectual on the public school level.
Yeah, it can.
It can, but that's just not where it was designed.
What is designed for is an 1890s, early 20th century model, post-Reconstruction, pre-industrial revolution. That's the model.
Sheesh.
It is. You think about it. The school calendar is based upon an agrarian calendar. So that means we get the summers off. Why? So that people could grow. We get out of school at 2:00. Why? Because that's when people were supposed to go home and take care of livestock. Why do we come to school the time we do? Why? Because that was when you're supposed to take care of the livestock. The entire schedule is based upon a growing season. Yet less than 1% of Americans make their primary income growing. I know it's really cool to have, these community gardens, but that ain't growing nothing but a salad, right? Let's be honest. Nobody's making a living off of that.
Right.
Necessarily. So we have a system that's not even designed to produce the level of education that's required for our current economy. Unless, of course, you start looking at some of these modern models of education where you have an extended day, an extended year, where you have specific learning around technology or math or science.
Preparing people for the jobs of tomorrow.
Period.
Or today.
Yeah, but how many people from lower class neighborhoods have access to
None of the schools in New York
None.
City are teaching kids how to code, which is a conversation we're going to get into in a little bit about technology.
And so what happens is we've said essentially that this system is cool enough because the people for whom it was designed, largely white people, they are doing all right. So it's believed. The problem is that the people who feel like the white children in this country are doing all right are comparing them to poor Black Latino kids. So cool, you beat us, bully for you. Here's the problem: everybody else beat you.
In the world.
Everybody in the world. And all this crap that you've been talking about poverty, you should tell South Korea that because they're pretty poor. You should tell Singapore that because they're pretty poor. You should remind China that they're pretty poor. Beijing, all these places that are whooping you. Because you think
India has a poverty issue and they kick our ass in education.
It ain't even close. They're trying to get toilets. They're trying to get clean water. But put their students in our classes, they're valedictorian. So there are ways to educate even the poorest among us. The problem is in America, white supremacy is set so deep in our being, in our pores, that we, even people of color, can lie to ourselves and give people the impression that we did this to ourselves. Oh, these kids don't want to learn. Their pants are down low. The girls got skirts too short. They come in and they got tattoos and things on their face. Come on, man, stop. They got the hair done. That's not what, it's just a style, right? They're going to take some of that stuff out. They're going to put some more stuff in. It's just what it looks like. It's what's going on in their head and what's going on in their heart. You've not engaged them. You've not inspired them. The reason they don't come to school, the truancy issues, because they know they ain't learning nothing.
And they know you don't like us.
They straight up, they literally, people that didn't necessarily call Mike J a revolutionary, and Michael Jackson wasn't. But there's some things he said in some of his songs that you got to think about. He said, all I want to say is that they don't really care about us. And the kids, that's bouncing in their soul. And think about it yourself. Would you go to somebody's house can't stand you? I mean, it gets to a point when you think, I'm not coming. Why am I coming? You don't even like me. You don't even like me.
Depending on how much money I'm going to get.
Oh, there's that too.
I show up a lot of places, talk to a lot of people who don't like me for the
But if you didn't have to
end.
You
right.
would, right?
Well, and that's part of the conversation, the don't have to part, because I think, me knowing that, I went to schools where I was one of 4 or 5, maybe 30 Black kids. Once I got to high school, it was based on football and sports. So I went to a school that was predominantly white, but all the Black kids was athletes, and they brought us in to play or whatever. And we had race issues and things like that. You end up, your parents, and luckily I had my father who, him and my mom wasn't together, and he had his own issues, but kept me on that focus of, listen, you're not here to be liked. Yeah. You're not here even for them to like you. You're here because you need this paperwork so that you can go to the next phase of life. It ain't even about...
Right, but here's what...
that was my training.
But you know what, though? Let me take it one step further, though. Here's the problem. There are parents who are doing that same exact thing, but they're sending them to schools in which the children are simply not being taught.
Facts.
Okay, my parents, I remember being in elementary school, and it was my choice not to go to my neighborhood junior high school because it was terrible.
Right.
I lied and I used my father's zip code to get into another school.
We all do.
But my parents couldn't understand why I was doing this. Mind you, my parents are immigrants.
Sure.
Their whole mentality is just go to school and do the best you can. They didn't even process at the time because they're too busy trying to learn the language.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of it, and I see it. I see it happening over and over again. But but also my parents also were like, they just trusted the system, and they were like, go with it.
Right.
So I had to learn the hard way. I'm like, wait, this isn't right. I definitely don't want to go here because I know if I do not want to become a product of this school.
Right. And so the problem is we then would blame the parents if all they did was just send you to the school that was down the street, you and I wouldn't be talking right now. Because it would have gone miserably wrong. You would have gotten the information that was being given. You would have gotten...
Or you would have got discouraged and took
that's
another
what I'm
path that wasn't
That's
good
what I'm
for
saying.
Yeah.
I mean, and we don't... This is not hyperbole. This is not us just making it up or just pushes it. This is what the data's saying. The data's saying that children who go to those schools, that's what their lives look like. And it doesn't mean that they're less intelligent. That's the part that drives me crazy. I say to people, poverty doesn't matter. Oh, these white liberals get mad, and these whack intellectuals, they're Black, but they want to be, so this is whack. And there's whack nationalists, they get in there, they're just so, you don't understand poverty. I don't understand poverty. Really, I don't. Please explain it to me.
So, and that goes back, and what you're saying is there are oftentimes placing blame on the financial circumstances for the reason acceleration in life can't take place.
I don't know. So here's what it is. To this day, I don't know how much your parents made. Nor do I really care. You told me you went to a school that prepared you. We're not talking about how much your parents made or didn't make. That's inconsequential. Just because, I don't know what your parents made, but they seem to have done all right. They seem to have done all right. How much a parent makes does not determine how intelligent a child is. And what's so bananas about this, what's just so sickening, is to hear people who are supposed to be, in many cases, Black, Latino intellectuals jumping behind this wall of shame that we put on our own people. Like, man, see, y'all broke. They ain't never. And we try to pawn it off like we're being revolutionaries. There's nothing revolutionary about telling people that they're stuck. You know what's revolutionary saying? You ain't stuck. You and me, we getting out of here.
And there's nothing revolutionary about placing blame on the same people that have been oppressing us. If we're not going to take responsibility and action for ourselves and figure out how to win.
Let's ride out. So we sit down, we huddle. Okay, you see how big they are. They got the same size football we do, same size field we do. We could either sit here and let them beat the piss out of us for the next 2 hours, or we could decide it's not going to happen. Let's go. That everyone makes a decision. And what I'm saying is we do have to take control of our community. We do have to take control. And when I say we, I don't just mean people of color, because we didn't get in this situation by our damn self, and we ain't getting out by our damn selves. We didn't get here because we did something so horrible. And we're not getting out because we do something so great. We have to find a way to work with people in and out of our community. And we have to stop allowing people to make us think that we are the broken ones. And then stop playing these.
But you could make have the discussion, make the argument, however you want to term it. I can perform as a person of color phenomenally through the education system all the way up to higher education, get out of that scenario and still hit the institutionalized racism
No doubt.
brick wall of
No
America and be very frustrated and go down the wrong path, because we do see that happen.
No doubt.
Well.
I mean,
we can't act like that. Those things
I'm
aren't
not
factors.
acting like it doesn't. I'm saying because they do, we have to prepare ourselves.
Right.
You know it's there. And it's not going anywhere during our lives. It ain't going anywhere. But here you are, and here I am, I think relatively successful people, in spite of the fact that this has occurred. And each year we are educating children in 2 states to be those same people. You don't think, I don't think, and you don't think that we're the last of the Mohegans. We're not thinking that we're just so special and kissed on the forehead by God that we're separate from the rest of our people. We're saying, no. I'm Harriet Tubman in this thing. I'm heading back in there. I know there have to be more of us back there. There have to be more cats that are as intelligent as you, and as capable as any one of us. And probably, with all due respect to any of us in the room, could light us up.
Well, and also I think too, what I'm hearing from you, and we talk about this on the show a lot, I always find myself speaking on not waiting for this government or any government to come save us.
I wrote a book, Man Up, Nobody's Coming to Save Us.
Well, there you go.
Because, we could want that, but while you
and we
wait,
can point fingers all day.
Right.
You did this to us, and you're
it's
doing
true.
this, and it's facts. But guess what? We just gonna sit around and wait? Because even when they owe you, you gotta still go take it.
Listen, you gotta grind out. I'm an African American who started a school in the hood because I believed in my community. And I'm here to tell you that every single person told me it couldn't happen. And most of the people who told me it couldn't happen were us. Black people, Latinos. The city had a Latino mayor, Latino and Black city council, Latino and Black, I think there were 1 or 2 white people on the board of education, but they were such a minority, they weren't going to raise up on anything, you know what I mean? They were like, whatever y'all say, we're cool with, because they were those liberal ones, you know what I'm saying? Those people, those were the people who, our people, were the ones saying, man, these kids don't even want to go to college. How could you say that, man? Like, how are we even having that conversation? The way we got the first school started, true story.
And this was Capital Prep.
Capital Prep in Hartford. The way we got the first school started was I had to convince everyone it wasn't going to be successcul.
Damn.
Swear to God. I would sit down with...
This is just an experiment. Just ride along with me. It probably won't work.
I'm not even joking. I literally would say that to people. I say, well, look, I know you're the mayor. Here's the deal. I don't even know what I'm doing. We're probably not even going to be that good. Like, so... if you, all I want to do is open this little school. Like, you got the rest is yours. I just want to do this little thing. Because in the beginning, I was stupid. I came in, I'm thinking I'm the prodigal son. I'm an African-American. I'm from this. I'm coming back home. I got an Ivy League degree. I don't need to do this. I could go off and make paper, right? I don't want to do that. I want to take my little degrees and I want to come back and I want to make a little bit of money grind every day, spend time away from my family and people I care about, to be with people I don't like, right? For the privilege to be with these children who I love. I had to convince us it's not gonna be. And then when it started to be successful, I would say, no, it's not. I don't even know why. I don't even know why the media's here. I have no idea. I have no idea.
You had to downplay.
Listen, to the point where when I would be in the principals' meetings, there'd be 50 principals in the city of Hartford, 50 of us in a room. Not one person would come up and be like, that's hot, man.
They were jealous. They hated
No
it.
one.
We had visitors from all over the world. People from Armenia, the Armenian embassy. If you can find Armenia on a map, I want you to show me because I don't know where it is. China, all over. Like I was big in Chinese media. Don't ask me why. But because of that, I'd have all these visitors to the school. Because they're not coming to visit me. I'm the lead singer in a really good band. I'm like Phil Bailey, right? In Earth, Wind & Fire, right? So you need the whole band. He tried a solo. Didn't work out for him, right?
Gotta have everybody.
Gotta have everybody in order to be Earth, Wind & Fire, right?
That's
so
right.
I'm Earth, Wind & Fire, right? I'm that guy, right? And selling it as such. People coming in from all over the world. There's a school 2 blocks from us in which only 2 kids in the 8th grade could read on grade level. Only 2. 2 blocks from us. They never came to visit us. Even to come in and say, y'all suck. We didn't even just win in the classroom. We messed around. We put an English teacher in charge of our forensics science team, right?
I didn't even know they did forensic science teams in high school.
How about this? I only know about it because I worked there. So I don't want to give you the impression like, oh, yeah. No, I didn't know. Like, I didn't know either. So the kids call me, true story. Kids call me and they say, Dr. Perry, we won. Because they were competing in Greenwich and all the area. And I'm going to be real with you. What I said to them, I said, oh, that's really nice. Because I'm thinking, we won the urban class. You know, we were in the C.
Y'all just beat all the black kids, not the rich kids.
Y'all beat... And they said, no, Dr. Perry, we won the whole thing. I said, the whole what thing? They said, we won the state championship.
Wow.
Because I had said to them, right, I put this crazy thing up. I said, if y'all win, I'm taking everybody out to dinner. They said, meet us, because you know we the hood, right? Meet us at Red Lobster.
Of course you did. Cheddar baked biscuits for everybody.
Everybody balling out. Biscuits for everybody. And same thing is true. We didn't just win there. We won in cross country. It was funny in the beginning because our kids would literally get lost in the woods. They'd be out there running in basketball sneakers, running out in J's, right? You can't run cross country in J's. Whatever, we did it. Get out there, we lose. It was funny. We called cross country, in the hood, right? We're running around the block, run, Forrest, run. It was real funny. And then people were real patronizing when we would go to these meets. Say, oh, one day you guys are going to be really good. You know how to do that. You're going to be really good.
It's cool that you're here.
Yeah, oh my God.
So cool.
This
is nice.
Then we start smoking people. Then it was like, oh, they recruited them. We recruited cross-country athletes? Really? Because racism is so deep in our pores as a country that when you see Black, Latino, and poor people doing something that we don't believe we're supposed to do, even we say they must have cheated. So it continues. Then we won 4 women's basketball state championships, became the 15th team in America at a school that still sent 100% of its Black, Latino, and poor graduates on to 4-year colleges. Then we won a football state championship. School ain't even 10 years old yet. Instead of celebrations, I get investigations.
Wow.
Investigations upon investigation. I mean, investigated everything that you could imagine.
So this is now the school, Capital Prep, has been around how long?
That 12 years.
12 years now, and it's the standard now.
Yeah.
It's the expectations are high. Kids perform well. The forensic science team is still winning.
They have not won anymore. It was a one and done.
You caught everybody off guard. Not everybody stepped their game up.
It didn't happen again.
What about the basketball?
Basketball's still nice. You may know.
What about cross country?
Cross country's still doing well. You know one of our players, Andre Drummond.
Yes, I know that name.
Yeah, well, he was at Capital Prep. The kid that you saw me picking up in the morning on Black in America,
Yes,
the one
right.
That's him.
Oh wow, I didn't know that.
That was him. I was picking him up in the morning because we were working. He would tell you we were working on reading. So I would bring him into school early to work on his reading and math. So he would get into school. I'd go. He'd be.
How many students get to go to Capital Prep?
The one in Hartford, 700. The one in Bridgeport, it'll ultimately be 700, and the one that Puff and I are doing, here in Harlem, there'll be 700 as well.
700 for all 4 grades, 9 through
Well,
12.
in Hartford, it's 6 to 12. I mean, it's pre-K to 12.
Okay.
In Bridgeport, it will be K to 12. In Harlem, it'll be 6 to 12.
6 to 12. And from what I'm told, the way you're going to do it in Harlem and with Puff, at first when Puff came to you, he saw your story just like the rest of us.
That's
he came
correct.
to you and said, I want to do something in Harlem. You said?
Good luck with that.
And why'd you say that?
Because I was enjoying what I was doing. Who goes to social work school, comes back and opens a school in the hood to try and get on television? Like, that's a real long way to do it, right?
Right.
And so I had no expectation that I would be on TV, sending kids to college. I didn't think it was anything extraordinary. I just knew it was going to happen.
Right.
I just, you know what I mean? I didn't think anything of it. So,
and you knew your own capabilities and your own level of focus and what you had to give.
I wasn't concerned about winning.
So now you're on TV. Now Soledad O'Brien's coming to you and everybody wants to, around the world, ambassadors are coming to see your blueprint. And now Diddy's at your doorstep. How long did he call you?
So I'm leaving.
And were you hesitant to work with him?
Not because it's him, because I'm going to tell you something in a second. I was at Kevin Lyle's, his engagement party.
Mm-hmm.
Don't ask me how I end up at Kevin Lyle's engagement party.
Well, he's motivational and educational, and
right,
he probably
but even,
saw something
But
in
even
you.
still, the party probably had 15, 20, maybe 30 people there. Jay was one of them.
Yeah.
Like, why am I at a party with Jay-Z, Gayle King, and
Oprah
Puffy?
and
Oprah,
Puff
right.
and-
Like, I'm the whole time sitting like, somebody's going to know somebody's going to be like, get your.
Yeah, but you educating kids, bro.
Right, but I
You
so
tapped into something that a lot of people haven't either had the time
And-
or the focus or the Hoves and the Oprahs, they have the resources, but sometimes you know how you got investigated?
Yeah.
Let them try to go educate some kids and uplift some kids. Talk about investigation. They bringing up all the dirt.
Bruh, I want to go there. So what happened was I'd gotten calls from people like Pharrell, who is one of the brightest human beings I've ever met. At one point, I'm having a conversation with him. I said, bro, don't take this the wrong way, but who told you all this?
He's super smart.
It's bananas.
Super smart.
So anyway, so I'm walking out of the party. Puff grabs, but taps my shoulder. Hey, and I said, hey, I'm Steve Perry. He says, I know who you are. And he says, I'm Sean Combs. I said, I know who you are. And he says, can I tell you something? The music was loud. He said, can I tell you something? And he pulled me. I said, sure. He said, I've always wanted to start a school, and nobody knows that. And I said, wow, that's really dope, Because I was heading out. It's late, because in New York, y'all apparently don't know that everyone else parties on Friday, Saturday.
And the entertainment industry, we do it on Tuesday at 1
So,
a.m.
right.
You know what I mean? Why not?
So I'm like, I got to go to work. Like, I have a job. I cannot be here. So he says, can I holler at you for a second? I said, sure. Like, why am I going to say no to that? So I've always respected his work, loved his music. And so he said, I've always wanted to start a school, and I just really respect what you do. I said, I really appreciate that, bro. Thank you. He said, I think I want to start a school. I said, good luck with that. And he said, okay, I want us to do it together though. I said, yeah, okay, because I'm being polite, right? Because I had a school. I hadn't envisioned myself being on television, so that had already happened, and I was dealing with what that looked like.
And be honest, did you really think Puff had the focus in the?
That's what I'm saying.
I didn't know.
You felt like he was just talking. Maybe had one too many rosés.
So there's a part of me that says yes to that, but it wasn't just because it was him. Because at that same time, a lot of people who were in the entertainment industry would come up to me and they would say things like, "Man, I've always wanted to." And you have to realize that when I'm out, I was just outside, as I'm waiting to get in here, just down on the street, getting ready to come in. And a young brother's like, man, I've always wanted to start a school. I mean, people just say that to me. And I want you to hear this in the way in which I feel it. I am so inspired by that. But this is what I really do. This is all I do.
It's not just talk.
This is all, but I want to make it even clear. This is all I do. Like, this is my game. Someone said to me, so what else do you see yourself doing? No. You got to understand. This is my whole thing. I'm not even really good at anything else. And then they say, well, okay, that may sound like false modesty. Let me say it to you this way. I'm really good at this. So I'm going to ride this. This is my thing. So I don't like to play in it with other people. Like, if it's not really if you're not about this life, then I don't want to do it. And it doesn't mean that it's a knock against you. I don't want to do it no matter who you are.
It's the same way I am with radio, where people say they want to do radio, but they don't really want to do the work that it takes to be in this game.
Right.
Or people say they want to rap, But they don't really want to be. They want to be.
Same thing.
They
right?
want to be popping.
And so,
you don't want to do the work.
And that's what it is. And so I just did an interview with I interviewed a person who wanted to be a chemistry teacher for us last night. And, I'm coming home. I'm FaceTiming her while I'm driving. I know you're not supposed to do that, but I did. And I'm talking to her, and she's not going to work for us. I don't feel like she wants it. So this is the same level for anybody, no matter who it is that we're going to be working. So anyway, so for the next 2 years, not in I don't want to, please don't think, I'm not saying he was like some sort of page or something like this, stalker. No. He would check in on me.
Periodically.
He would check in on me.
It was consistent.
Yeah. He would check in on me, man, hey, how's my school coming? And, it's coming. It's
So what's the first step? I mean, is that...
Well, in my first step with working with him, honestly, was to discourage him from doing it. The whole time, for the first 2 years, was me saying to him, why don't you do an after-school program? Why don't you do a scholarship? I'll help you. I said to him, no one has to even know I did it. I'll put this whole thing together for you. I'll write it up because you're important to us. When I did one of my first interviews on CNN, I brought Puff in, and there are people... There are people in some pretty big magazines, and I don't want to do that. Some of the people. Why would you do that? Why would you have a brand? You're an educator. You're respected. Why would you do that? Because he sold 400 million records to Black, Latino, and poor kids. I want to know what he's talking about. Because he gets us.
Well, and Puffy cares about young people.
More than people will ever. One of the things that I feel obligated to tell about.
And he cares about motivating people to be great.
Right. So you know him, right?
I've known him 20 years.
So what happens is he's going through, over this past 6 years, he's been through some bumps. At no point does this, because I would call him, I'd say, man, you need me to come out and vouch, like, hey, folks, do you know what this guy's been doing for the, and the reason why it isn't done is not him, it's me. Like, the guy who you saying you respect because he does it, I'm the one who's discouraging Sean Combs, the same person that you guys are all, slaying because he doesn't give enough to the community, he doesn't do this, and he's literally saying to me, because late night phone calls, because
1 a.m, he'll call you.
At least. So it's, come on, Doc, what are we doing? And how's this coming? And the most vulnerable and committed, at no point does he use that as his out. In fact, the only reason people found out about it when they did, that he was involved in it, was because, true story, because we were getting applications and I wanted to get more applications. And honestly, I didn't want people to find out about it. I didn't want to be outed that he had been a part of this from the beginning.
Because then that would look like he was hiding it.
Right, so...
He came up here and started promoting it.
Yeah.
And so we talked that week, and said, this is the last week of applications for, students to get into the school.
Right.
He said, I can say something now? Yeah. You can say, just go do what he's like,
He came over, he had a script. I remember he had his script.
Yeah.
He was ready. He had his script, and he was like, all right, 1 second. Yeah. He previewed his script on the show. I think we might have even edited that out of the interview, just make it look smooth.
Sure.
But he was like, 1 second. he turned to his team like, because he didn't want to say the wrong things, because of obviously it's a school, and you got to be very careful about what you're saying. And
he went on Fallon and talked about it. He didn't have to do that. I mean, he's got a number of businesses that could benefit from being on Fallon where he talks about it. When he called me one night and he said, I'm not breaking any confidences. He said, for real, this is after we got approved. For real, do we really have a school? This is after almost 6 years of doing this. I said, we got one. I'm like, who is this? Yes, we do have a school. He said, tell me, just say it. Again, just tell me that we have a school. I said, bro, we got a school. He said, but what does that mean? I said, we are going to be opening a school in Harlem. My Harlem? Like, your Harlem. We going back to Harlem. Yeah. And he said, I'm going to be crying. You can imagine some. I'm going to be crying like, I can't. He said, I'm going to have snot bubbles coming out of my nose. You don't understand. Like, he said, we going to celebrate this thing. I'm like, well, he says, searchlights. I'm like, no, not searchlights. No. Not searchlights. Yeah. Let's not.
This ain't a club. This ain't a club.
But the point is that what he said to me every single time is, man, we gonna make education cool. I want to be a part of it. I want kids to want to get A's. I want black kids to want to be smart. I want them to want to do well in school. I want them to be proud. I want to build leaders. I want to build a nation of leaders. And then he said, I want to talk to these other cats who are in positions like mine, and I want to say, we got the blueprint. Just do it like us.
Man, it's funny you say that. Just 2 days ago, I forget where I was. Must have been Father's Day Saturday. Yeah, I was at a friend of mine's house. It was a bunch of dads and moms and, kids playing in the yard. and we was talking about education, right? Because my daughter's gonna start Montessori school. She's
Good
2.
move.
She already started. What
Have you seen him? Have you seen him?
You've seen the Montessori?
Yeah.
Yeah. We had to go in and do the
Mhm.
whole thing. And you know how you take your kid to the school, and a lot of parents think that they're watching your kid. No. They're watching you
For sure.
and how your kid socializes while you're there and what the relationship is, so they know whether or not your kid is able to think by themselves, or they, you know what I mean, and just where they are in their learning process. But nonetheless, me and mom was there, my daughter was there, and she got accepted to the school. But we were talking about how, important early education is, right? And how so many parents still think, oh, no, I'm gonna keep my kid at home until they're 2, 3, 4. No. You gotta get your kid into these classes.
ASAP.
And not only just for their routine, but for your routine.
Yeah.
You getting accustomed to waking up every day, getting them dressed, walking them, driving them to school in the early parts of their lives. So that just becomes a part of the habit.
Right, but one of the things that I wanted to make sure.
But I'm saying all that to say that there were even parents there that were like, yo, you heard about that thing in Harlem that Puffy's doing? I was like, yeah, I heard about it. They was like, why? I was like, nah, it's Dr. Perry. He's got schools in Connecticut. He's the one doing it, and Puffy's involved as well. But why Puffy, though? Like, why Puff?
That is the
I'm like, because he
craziest
cares
thing to
about
me.
education.
That's I just don't get us. I really don't get us. I really don't. I've been confused by our community, especially as of late, because the things
we're confused, and that's why you're confused.
Well, there's that too. But I look at it and I think there's some things that should be a layup. There's some things that just should be real simple, right? There should be you want somebody to come in and do something, and then they do it, and then you malign them for doing it. I've seen cats who are professors writing silly ass blogs talking because that's what they do these days, I guess.
They've been on vlogs, yeah. Trust me, we've seen it.
What a
Facebook, man, don't knock a Facebook post.
what? Oh my! And they're e-gangsters. Like, really, Professor such and so?
And talk real too.
Like, wow, that's awesome. You can type real tough words from there.
But you're seeing a lot of negative press.
No, not a lot. And I want to make that really clear. I'd say, you know how these things, we really have like literally over 1 billion impressions, right? Maybe about 3 or 4 clowns get up there and say something. And I just think, maybe it's just me. I don't know that I care that I want everyone to love us because I don't care. I really don't care. But the ones who don't, it's very, very small groups. So I don't want to oversize their role because for days and days, all we've gotten is positivity and people all over the country just feeling like we won, right? That's what they're saying. Mm-hmm. We won. We're coming together.
Yeah.
2 black men, each of whom is successful in his own right, deciding to drop the egos at the door in a We Are the World moment and say, hey, let's just win, bruh. Mm-hmm. Let's just go out here and do this like it's never been done. Take pride in winning. And what's the win if we win? Kids are smarter. They feel better about themselves. I mean,
self-esteem.
They're making profits off of it. Are you high? Like, seriously, like, put that vapor thing down. Stop. It's not okay. Like, it's not okay for you to just talk so recklessly because people are listening. And there are certain people who don't need to see us do this. And you are feeding some of the most racist, disgusting stuff. You're feeding it because you're showing that there's a chasm. How about you just be an idiot by yourself and save your little 20-person blog?
You ain't got nothing nice to say, don't say nothing.
There's that, but it's even bigger than that. Part of my mission, I think one of the reasons why people in this industry have welcomed me is because I'm saying y'all have a place at the table. Don't let these clowns make you feel like you don't belong here. Like they somehow are nice. Like they're so good and you should they suck, most of them. And because
and when you say they, you mean those in
those
higher
who are
education.
primarily who are actually paid to do this are not doing a good job. We wouldn't be having this conversation if they were. There wouldn't have been an opportunity for me even to start a school. We start schools in places where everybody else has failed. And that may not make people feel good, right? Because we're supposed to give out trophies to everybody who showed up, but I'm not giving you a trophy if you suck. Listen, you may be good at something, it may not be this. And there's nothing wrong with you just manning up and saying, I thought I was good at it. I went to school with it. I actually wanted to be in radio. Nobody put me on, so I'm a teacher. Okay.
Well, that happens too. And you know what? I see it a lot. A lot of young people who, chase their dreams or don't even have a plan go, you know what? I'm going to become a teacher.
Listen, so this week, right, because we're hiring, Somebody comes in, his brother's like, yeah, I want to get back to the community and all that sort of stuff. So I say to him, so what have you done? I mean, you've been in college. There are plenty of opportunities to volunteer. Like, if this is where your heart is, then I'll sit back and let you tell me all things. I worked at Best Buy. Nothing wrong with Best Buy. And let me be clear.
No, of course.
But that's not a training ground.
Right.
To become a teacher at this academy.
Not with me. So tell me a story about why this matters to you. Well, I came up the hard way. Okay, you too? Like, I mean, it's kind of a
But what you're saying is you got to be in this and live this to be a part of what Dr. Perry is doing. This is not a throwaway gig.
No.
This is
Not
not
just
a
a
throwaway
paycheck.
school. It's not
Nah.
just a paycheck.
You don't play
You
yourself.
got to live this.
Yeah, and if you
Damn, he just said you're going to play yourself. Congratulations. You played yourself.
and if you get past the gate and we mess around and hire you and you do what it is that you're doing, which is to hurt our kids by not giving them access to a quality education, I will fire you. And then I'm not going to be disrespectful. I'm going to treat you like a human. Like, I'm not going to come in and, grab you out of the back of your shirt. That's not what this is about. But we will have conversations. And I'll say to you, man, what else did you want to be when you grew up?
But what I'm hearing is oftentimes when I say things like this, because Laura Stiles hears me go on tirades a lot about work ethic.
Yeah.
About the pussification of America.
Oh, my God.
And these things. But there is a segment, a large segment, and we'll get into it even with like, standardized testing. Where, I'll say, listen, guys, I hold myself in high regard, and so I hold the people around me in high regard as well. You can call me whatever you want to call me, but I won't allow you to bring me down to mediocre levels,
right?
Or just to appease you and make you feel comfortable with your own life.
Which is a hard place to be. Because
and that's what I was gonna say. Yeah. Because when I'm hearing you talk, I can see people right now. It's fucking elitist, separatist. Fuck this guy.
Right.
He's not trying to help.
I'm
people.
so cool with that.
Right.
I'm cool with that. Fuck me then. I'm cool. Whatever that means for you, that I'm okay with that. But here's what I know: when you send your child to a school, who you gonna be looking for? Let me check it for me. And people like me, people who are going to give everything for your child, who gonna work like their life depends on it.
Because their life does depend on it.
I talk to people. Let me tell you what one of my interview questions is. Tell me how you're gonna change the world. If I see you laugh, crack a smile, act like I said something really absurd or obtuse, things end. Tell me how you're gonna change the world. I want an answer. There are answers that I will accept. There are answers that I will not accept. I'm not going to get into this. I don't have to do that. I used to work in the traditional school system. I had to play nice with the unions. Well, that's not true. I didn't. They're losers. But I had to find a way to
work with them.
To make mediocre acceptable enough until I could get rid of mediocrity. I don't have to do that anymore. One of the things that's different about working in the charter world than working in the traditional school world was somebody does something silly, on a Saturday we can make this thing go away. But in the traditional, I didn't have that as an option. One of the many reasons why
because you can't just fire a teacher like that.
Oh, God. Come on, man. You serious?
Nah. Well, no, I mean, I know the answer is you can't, because there's teachers who have like sexual assault charges and they still showing up and not getting suspended.
I can show you video of a man who was caught. I can show you a video of a man who was said to have attempted to get people to do blow, and
cocaine in class.
Not in class, no, but it's on tape. I mean, I can show you the tape.
And he's still teaching.
I have not heard that he lost his job. I'll give you one that I saw. I'll give you one that I saw. Our first school, I walked by a much simpler one. I walked by a classroom. I had a guest. I was so excited that I started my own school, right? So I'm walking by with his brother, and I'm trying to get him to work there. He's this legend of a basketball coach. And I figure if I can get this brother to come, then everybody's coming to our school. So I got Coach Smith walking with me, walking by, and Coach Smith says, "Hey, Doc, I think that dude is asleep."
No.
That's what I said.
Oh, no.
Mine had more cuss words in it, but I was like, nah. So I walked by because I'm really embarrassed, right? Because I'm trying to show him that, we gonna do this. And I got a guy asleep in class with children in class. So I walk by and I can't think. right? Because there are things I want to do that are all physical. So
Can't do that.
right.
That's not good.
Yeah, so I'm thinking those things, and so I walk back by. The kids are like, "Yo, you gotta get up.
To the teacher.
You gotta get up." So dude does like this. He rears back, right? So he wakes up. So I say to him from the doorway, "Meet me in my office after class."
That was his last day.
One would think. So I because I worked in the traditional schools at that time, I had him downstairs. He comes into my office. He says, "I'm just letting you know right now, I wasn't asleep." I said, "Who are you gonna believe? The person who was awake, watching you sleep, or you?" I had to spend the next 6 months counseling him and coaching him to not sleep in class as they grieved me for harassing him. My harassment was, don't freaking sleep in class. Don't do that. Just don't do that.
But he filed a complaint against you
Against
to protect
me.
himself.
Against
so that
me.
Then that way it would complicate the firing.
So 6 months, the school year is only 8 months, right? So 6 months, he's able to carry this thing to the end. He gets transferred to another school. He's still working in the system. 10.
Like nothing
But,
happened.
but there's people watching this right now. They're like, that's no big deal. My teacher comes in drunk. I smelled alcohol.
Yeah.
Listen, it's the truth.
Yeah.
But it's the truth because educators are people and we have all the same issues, all the same issues. There's not a single issue that we don't have, that you have that we don't have. We have all the same issues. Even more reason why people like you, I feel like need to be activated in the conversation about what needs to happen in order to improve our schools. You're an end product user on 2 levels. You're an employer and you're a parent. And because you're both of those, you're probably about as important as anybody to what you want to see in schools. But what happens is anytime we start having these conversations about education, the teachers union jumps up as the sorority that it is, jumps up and starts saying, you're wrong, you're blaming teachers. And what they try to do is they try to play up the gender side of it. And they try to say, well, you're saying these things because you hate women and you hate, like, whoa, how about I love kids?
And I want the best.
And I want the best. And why do I have to hate anybody because I'm saying that I expect the best? All I'm saying is I want for my kids what you want for your kids. And by my kids, I don't just mean the biological ones that my wife and I have. I mean the ones that are in our community. I'm telling you right now.
It's deep.
It's bad. It's really bad out here.
Is this a capital?
It is a capital prep.
It is also a capital prep. You're going to partner with the Boys and Girls Club in Harlem.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
So they were instrumental in helping us get started. They really are going to help us with the programming, the after school programming, some day part programming. This Boys and Girls Club, it doesn't get
just
open
everything
to
they
them.
do.
Like they're just, they're the Boys and Girls Club.
So the way this will work is the school is full right now. This season is, or this coming school semester or school year starts in September.
So August 29th.
6th grade.
6th and 7th grade, yeah.
6th and 7th grade. So you're starting with 6th and 7th. You'll add another grade every year.
Yeah.
And every spring, February, March is when you take new applicants.
Yeah. So we had, yes, short answer there. We had 1,025 applications. We had almost 700 in 1 week for 160 seats. So this is where it starts getting not fun again. So
is when you have to tell kids they didn't get in.
I don't get to even tell them, but I know that they're there. And the school that we started in Hartford, I'm no longer affiliated with that school because they didn't want us to do. We partnered with the school system and they were not trying to save our kids. We had 2,700 kids on the waiting list. And we were only accepting 50 kids.
So the original Capital Prep,
no longer connected.
You're no longer connected. What about the second?
The second one, that's us.
That's us. And so you're saying partnering with the public school system in Hartford ended up being so political,
so poisonous. And I was told straight up in a Board of Education meeting by a Board of Education member that she would not give me another school in the city because it would be too much power for one man.
And that was because you had more than 2,000 children that couldn't get into the original Capital Prep. You went to the school board like, hey, guys, let's do another one in Hartford because this thing is working.
I would never have left. Just so we're clear, I would never have opened a school in Harlem. I would have done everything in Hartford. If they had just played ball which for me was I wasn't asking for any more money. I wasn't asking for any
Just
great,
another school.
Because I remember one day the day that really broke my heart, and I mean it just this way. I was out doing bus duty, and you know, us in the hood, we'll pull up. What are lines in the street, right? There's just something that somebody painted there, right? So somebody pulled up. I don't know why, he pulled up real fast, and so he says, "Yo, Doc, I need to talk to you." Okay. He says, "I live right there." Like he pointed to his apartment. He said, "I live right there. My child has been on a waiting list for 5 years. Every year we apply, and I don't get in." And his school was that school with the 2 kids.
Yeah, the 2 blocks down from you there.
That was his school.
Yeah.
So he said, "You know what school my kids go to. Why won't you let my kids in the school?" I said, "Bro, I want your kids in the school. Like, I mean, if they give me buildings, I'll open as many as y'all want me to."
So why were his kids' grades not there? Were the testing not there?
No, it just didn't get in through lottery.
So it's all lottery.
Period.
You apply and boom.
Yeah. So he would put his name in the lottery. There'd be so many kids, his name just wouldn't get pulled. 2,700, you accepting 50 kids, and you only accepting 50 kids in 2 grades at that time. So I'm accepting 53-year-old. I mean, 20, maybe about 30, 3 and 4-year-olds, and 20 throughout the remaining grades. So in some grades, it might be 1 kid that we're accepting. So if you have 5, let's say 1 grade, we might have about 200 kids on the who apply. You had a 1 in 200 chance of getting it. I mean, you ain't taking no. That's nothing.
So now the Harlem School's there. It's full. So everybody watching this right now, well, I'm sure we're going to be hearing a lot about it. I'm sure you're going to be under the microscope. You got Puffy involved. He's making videos where they're designing uniforms, and it's a show. But what is it about your program, and we got to wrap this up, that is so great? Is it just self-esteem? Is it just your expectation that these kids will perform? Is it the hands-on nature of yourself as well as your faculty? What is it? All that combined?
I think it's all that combined. I
above?
think all of the best schools run exactly the same way. They're literally exactly the same. If I asked you about your school, if it was a good school, you could tell me that it's the same thing as yours and the same thing as some of the schools.
I knew the vice principal. I knew the principal. I knew the coaches. Everybody was
You could
involved.
probably say the same thing, right? Laura, you probably can, maybe not. But in any case,
well, she had A-track, B-track, C-track.
Yeah, right.
There was a lot going on.
Right, so there was a lot
and you was
going
in
on.
C-track, so you.
No, I was in A-track. but I knew the faculty that
Right.
had to
So
do the
so the expectations are possible because we have the relationship with our children. It's the same as you see with some of these other schools that have been successful. It's the same exact thing.
What about parental involvement?
So parental involvement is something that we talk about, but I don't know that I think sometimes it's overplayed, to be really honest with you, because sometimes parental involvement ain't good. Because some of these fools come in there and they're just like,
it's horrible sometimes.
because they come up and sister's got on this halter top and you're like, oh God, because never the one that you want to see like that. Like, so she comes up, you're like, whoa, that's a lot.
You shouldn't be wearing that at a school.
You shouldn't
with
be
children
wearing that
at all, ever.
So it's just not. You're not at your best,
Right?
On the same token, you find the person who's an attorney or whatever, and they, all day is about big boying you. I'm an attorney. Saying, come on, man, can you just stop? Your son just slapped somebody. I don't care who you are. He slapped somebody, and he doesn't make him a horrible person. But you got to go home today,
Right?
And shake it off, because I just want to let you know the child who he slapped has some parents too.
Right.
And they're not attorneys, but they can figure out how to solve a case.
Right.
So let's everybody just take a break.
Chill out.
It's so sometimes parental involvement can be problematic because parents, unfortunately, especially this generation of parents, can be a lot.
Have you had any conversations with de Blasio now that you're in New York City?
Nah.
Do you plan on talking to
I don't have any
them?
quarrel with them.
No, not quarrel, but
Yeah.
just the political nature that New York City can be when it comes to charter schools
That's
and
the crazy thing,
education. The Board of Education, New York City is its own.
Yeah, you're right. And
matrix.
So one of the hardest parts for me about doing some of the stuff that we do, I did it because I wanted to be more involved with children's lives. And the more we open schools, the more I'm pulled away from it. And so I find myself at political fundraisers and doing these things. And it's not what I love. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm there stamping my feet the whole time. Person who made me go, I'm giving them that look the whole time. Like, seriously? Like, how much longer do we have to be here? Do you understand all the other cool things? I could be at a middle school basketball game right now. Do you know how much fun it is to
and
watch?
Fundraisers and politics ain't your thing.
It's just not my thing. It's not what I'm good at.
And would you open another school in New York City?
Can't wait. We're going to.
So it's gonna happen.
Oh, it's definitely.
How long does this process take? You said 4 years.
That one did because of me. It had nothing to do with anybody.
But normally,
It could take a year or two.
where would you go? Where would your next school go?
I'm really feeling the Bronx. I grew up in Connecticut. We used to squeeze to try and get this station. Like when 97,
Hot 97 is big up there. Yeah.
Oh my God, you don't even understand. This is before, like when I was coming up, everything I knew every I mean, we were, we sit up late at night.
Yeah.
Honestly, you'd have somebody with their arm out the window with an antenna. Sit still, boy. Come on, man. You know we can't. It's just trying to hear because this is when you had to get tapes, right? Somebody had to drive down to get mixtapes and then come back to our community and sell them, right? I got the Bronx from KRS. That was how.
So you want to be back out there and
so I learned about
that. Yeah.
I learned about that, and then I get there and I see just this amazing community.
It's amazing.
I mean, how do you not fall in love with this place? It's just this super dope melting pot. It's got this mix of as urban can be with this
cultural mix too.
Oh, that's what I'm saying. It's
beautiful.
like it's and then the reason why I say the Bronx is because the parents, not the parent, but parents from the community reached out to us and said,
we need you down here.
We'll help you start this real talk. We'll help you start a school in Harlem, but we just want to make a point. We will be there for you, ride or die, to get Harlem up and running, but be clear what we expect. And it's the Bronx. So they mean what they said, right? Yeah. So they're like, okay, we're here now. Let's go. Yeah. And we're serious.
Dr. Steve Perry's his name, Capital Prep. You're going to be hearing a lot about it. We've heard it from Diddy, and now we're hearing it. Yo, great dialogue.
Thank you.
And hopefully, if we can help in any way, you need anything from us, we're here, man.
I appreciate that. Thank you both.